this is O'Connor from the I.
Okay, you can go now.
And you can present to you. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. I don't want to waste your time. I just want to focus on things that you need to know for probably number one, the exam. The exam, yes. Put your hand up if you want to know something on the exam. Okay, that's good. We've got to help those of you who come. Just make sure that's recording. I think it is recording. It is. I just want to make sure that those of you who come get something on the exam. So maybe I turn the recorder off, then I tell you. Today's lecture, we're going to go through an example that was in a past exam. Okay? So it would be very valuable for you for that. All right? Last week, you did a midterm test. Is that right? Okay. What I want you all to do now is write down a question that you have. Maybe not about the test. It may be anything about the rest of the semester. Okay, so can you write down the question now? Oh, that's good. How many of you know that there's a career fair on? Yes? How many of you have been to a career fair? How many of you do not know what a career fair is? You don't know what I'm talking about? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. How many of you know that there's a career fair at Hong Kong U today? Some of you. You don't know. Okay, you need to get into the social network. Okay, it's very important. Okay, how many of you know what employers are looking for when they interview you? Put your hand up. You don't know. Pardon? Do you know?
Depends on what you're applying.
It really doesn't depend. Okay, there's three things they're looking for. But don't listen to me. Why don't we listen to one of the employers I interviewed last week in Shenzhen. See if this works. I think it works. So let's just give you a background. So this is CTech International, and Vila has interviewed some of the team members that have worked on my consulting project. I didn't even know that, because I went up to this booth saying, "Oh, can we interview you?" And she said, "No, I've already interviewed your team members." I didn't know that. So I thought I'll give a quick snapshot.
To our team members, so you've had some experience with the Time Supply 1000 team. Wonderful. And how did you find they just applied through the normal channels, right?
No, actually, somebody introduced Eric to me first, and Eric introduced other team members to me.
Wow, that's amazing. And so have you found that some of their training has been doing interviewing?
Yes,
how did you find that?
they know this industry quite well than others, can I say, competition.
Right.
But some of them maybe not really interested in this program, but they do know the industry very well.
Yes, wow. So you have a program for new recruits?
Yes, we do. We have campus recruitment every year.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you actually find...
So they have campus recruitment every year, but she did not find the applicants that come from my team through the campus recruitment. Okay, through other channels. Okay, 70% of a lot of job opportunities do not come through campus recruitment. So use the time at the career fair to get information on what they're looking for, not to interview. Okay? You should...
Some of the training I give on the China Supply 1000 very beneficial for the things that you're looking in the recruits.
All right, so you've got to be interested too. If you're interviewing someone, you've got to show interest in the interview, right? Even if you don't know anything about it, okay? Especially in the job, you need to be interested. So what was one thing that this HR sales director noted? What was he looking for in job applicants? Quick.
Interest.
Interest? No. Being able to make cold calls to people.
You mentioned that people knew about the industry, but they were just not interested in the jobs and maybe both.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. So, sorry, I cut you off earlier. So both of you got it together. That's right. That's right. And the cold calling. Okay. Everything. I don't care whatever job you apply for. If you're not interested in sales, then you might as well just stay home and not look for a job at all. Okay. You've got to have some sales orientation. It doesn't mean you're going to be a top salesman, but you have that sales orientation because that fits into any job. A sales orientation is all about what value can I provide to the customer. So if you're in the back office because you don't want to deal with customers, your customer is the front office. So you still have to have a sales orientation. So I don't care what job, people are saying it depends. No, it doesn't. Have that sales orientation, have that go-get attitude. That's what employers are looking for, and they're looking for evidence that you have done that. So my team gathers that evidence because they actually do real interviews with Chinese suppliers. Anyway, I don't want to take up today's lecture on that, but at the career fair today I thought I'd show you that. You can watch more of the stuff on the YouTube. That's all on YouTube now. How many of you have seen this website? Okay, and so we also have lectures that are videotaped. You can access through my website. How many of you have seen them? Looked at them? Just one person, okay. And so I've made a recording of today's lecture on capital budgeting, and that's going up on the website this afternoon. So you can have a look at it to revise for the exam. Okay, so hands up if you think that's valuable for you. Ah, okay, that's good. Everyone's putting their hand up now. Good. I'm glad. Okay, thank you.
Do a lot of calls on my team. Do a lot of interviews. Yes.
All right, so that was one of many interviews. You can look at some of the other interviews. This person here I interviewed from Singapore. They're making the latest RFID technology. There's so many things you can learn by visiting these expos. So enough of me and enough of the China Supply 1000. I just want to go back to where we're up to, because some of you are probably wondering, if I ask you if you have any questions, you're probably wondering, what about this book that I keep talking about? Do we have to buy it? Just buy it by the 13th of March. It will be in the bookshops on the 12th of March. Okay, 13th of March. All right, assigned cases to present. Here's the schedule for the rest of the semester on Tuesdays. Yes, we do go into the computer lab, right, but what do? We do the following. On the 13th of March, I'll teach you how to present effectively. Okay, on the 20th of March, I can teach you how to present a case. And I'll use one of the cases in the book. Okay, so one is more your presentation skills. The other one I'll talk about, well, how do you actually present a case? What angles can you take? Okay, because sometimes cases are very difficult to get around. There's so much information there. You have limited time. What do you present first, second, third? Is there some theory framework you apply? Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to present a case based on some courses I did overseas about 4 years ago. And week 11, 27th of March, 12th, 3rd of April, and week 14, 17th of April, there are 3 weeks assigned there for presentations. So it really doesn't matter if you're first or last in presenting, because after you buy the book, till the 13th of March until the 27th of March, you have 2 weeks before your presentation if you are first to present. Okay? Are there any questions on that? Is this clear? Yes? Hands up if this is clear. Yes? Great. Okay. Any questions on that? Yes?
What's going on the 10th of April?
10th of... Where's 10th of April?
It's not here. That's my question.
Oh yeah, that's if you want to come to the expo with me. Okay? So that's optional. That's not requirement. Okay? And the good thing about that week is I think the expo is in Hong Kong, so it's fantastic. Exciting. Some of you have put your name down to get involved in the expo. That might be a really good chance for you to come. Okay? If you don't have any other days of the week, because there's expos on every day. More questions?
How many presenting groups?
How many?
Presenting groups, presenting how many cases?
Okay, in the 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, there will be 4 presenting groups, so it'll only take 2 weeks for them to present. Okay, and for the 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I think there are 6 presenting groups, so it's going to take all of the 3 weeks. 2 presentations each week. 2 presentations. Okay, it's set up before we come in, do the presentation, and sit down, the second presentation goes, and then we have the next group come in. Okay?
Do you assign us the case or do we pick it ourselves?
You can choose the case if you want to, yes. Okay. Next question. I'll give you a limited range, probably only from maybe not the first chapter, because the first chapter of the book covers a lot of management accounting 1 type cases, not management accounting 2. Yes?
How do we hand in our group names, like our group members? We're handing them in today, right?
You can hand them in today, or the final date is next Tuesday. Okay, so you decide. Okay, I did say get ready by today. I'll get the formal list from you on Tuesday, just to make it easy. Okay, so when you come in Tuesday, you need to give me your list. Pardon?
Next Tuesday is reading week.
Is reading week. Oh, next Tuesday, then you can hand it in to me today. Just send me an email with your list. Okay? Have you all got my email address? Okay, check my website. Okay, O'Connor@business.hku.hk. Good. How many of you have studied I'm really happy to answer any questions, like I'm here to serve you. So is there any other questions about the formalities, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, in terms of the rest of the semester? Anything? No questions about the exam? Oh, okay, all right. Yes, what? When we know the grades of the midterm, I think we can release them next week. I hope Cassandra can put them on the notice board on the 2nd floor, maybe late next week. Okay, yes?
If people haven't finished the simulation game, when is the deadline and when can they finish it?
No, I want everyone to finish the game. I want everyone to experience finishing the game. So you can borrow the CD, so you can experience finishing. In terms of calculation of who won, where the priority goes to those who won as at the end of the class on Tuesday. Okay, that's the priority, okay? But if you haven't won the game yet, I want you to try it and experience it, okay? Yeah, so if you want to borrow the CD and play it again, you can. Most welcome to. Okay? You may want to tell your friends, some of you who managed to be absent during the Tuesday classes, if it might help if you were to write a short report, 3 or 4 pages of your learning in the game, if you're absent for any one time, okay? That just might help you. Yes?
Where we can borrow the CD or where we can...
My office, okay. See me after lecture and we get CD for you. Yeah. Yep. Any more questions on that?
Are we going to comment on other groups' presentation?
Yeah, part of the there may not be time to make a lot of comments during the presentation, but those who are not presenting in any one week will be asked to judge on the presentation, and one portion of that judgment will go towards your grade. And if I'm not mistaken, in the course outline it's 25%. Okay, more questions? Yes?
How are you going to assign the order of the presentation?
I will randomly choose, unless you have a real reason for being in a particular week. Okay? So anyone that volunteers to go first or second, I'm happy with that. But I'm not interested in anyone that volunteers to go last. Okay? Next question. Okay, let's talk about capital budgeting for a minute. Yeah, 1 minute, that's all we want. We don't want to go for too long. I'll tell you a few reasons why. Some of you may have already studied corporate finance. Put your hand up if you studied that. And I used to teach corporate finance, and we would teach the same module in corporate finance, capital budgeting. Okay, so how many of you have studied business valuation? Okay, let's make this very, very clear and very systematic. Okay, it's okay. It's environmentally friendly paper. Very clear. When you studied corporate finance, most of you have done that, yes? Okay. You're interested in, say, capital budgeting. So you've already done that. So I don't need to go too slow through that. You're also interested in capital what? Structure. No? And the last thing that's very important in corporate finance is what? Valuation. Okay? These 3 things are quite critical in corporate finance. So you learnt all about valuation. What do we mean? The present value of money, the time value of money. Put your hand up if you've done the time value of money. So you know all about that. Fantastic, that's great. You learnt all about capital structure, that is debt, equity, doesn't matter. If it matters, how can you optimise it? How does it affect the valuation if you change the structure? You learnt all about that, great. Put your hand up if you learned about capital budgeting specifically in corporate finance. There's 3 things here: capital budgeting, capital structure, valuation. So you looked at both, probably the last 2 in corporate finance. Valuation and capital budgeting are very, very similar. They use the same concept, that is the time value of money. So this is a great area that you can get 100% in the exam on. Why? Because you've already studied it before. It's a matter of just refreshing your memory, making those connections of the neurons in your brain. You know all those past courses that you did and that you remember? Put your hand up if you remember courses that you studied last year. No one put their hand up, okay. All right? So after you finish the exam, you just, I don't want to learn. Okay? I'll tell you a true story. Okay, do you want to hear a story? Okay. When I went to school, when I went to university, long time ago, we're talking about 1985, 86, 87. It's a long time ago, right? 25 years, unbelievable, 25 years ago. Anyway, I felt such a privilege to go to school that when I felt like I was going to fail all the time, so I'd go to the library all the time. Anyone else was talking in the library? I'd go, shh. All right, does anyone do that in the library here? No, it's not socially desirable to do that, all right? But I was just so serious about my studies, right? Go to the exam, I would study so hard. I get to the exam day and I was just pumped up like a football match. And it just like this, and going to the exam. Then after the exam, driving home and just yelling out, and just really celebrating the exam. And, you know, the achievement. How many of you feel the euphoria after you finish the exam? Put your hand up. Only a couple of you. Ooh. Huh?
Had one today.
And how do you feel?
Great.
Yeah, see? All of you, you need to feel the euphoria of an exam. All right? The only way you can feel it is if you study really, really hard for it, aiming for 100%. And then you execute, and then afterwards, you know you gave your best. All right, that's a short story. Boring story. Okay, more. All right, so capital structure is about, and corporate finance, capital budgeting, valuation. Shareholders give money to what? Firms, yes? All right? Shareholders give money. Firms do IPO, shareholders give money to firms. All right? So what do firms do? They generate profits by operating some capital equipment. And that could be office machines in the office and providing a service. So there's some capital equipment. Any fixed asset can come under the realm of capital budgeting. So firms are going to invest and then hopefully make a profit. Why? That's their mission, that's their value proposition. No? Okay, a firm exists because they think they provide some value that an individual cannot on their own. Okay, then they do IPO because they think they do provide more value on a greater scale. So they need the IPO and corporate finance to actually expand, right? Yes? But still there's providing value. So there's money being earned. Now, when you are a public company, some of that money may be returned to shareholders in the form of dividend, yes? Or the firm may say, no, we're going to keep that, like Apple. Okay, we're not going to pay a dividend, we're going to keep that as cash. Or from time to time, when we find some opportunities, we're going to invest. And so therefore there's money going back into the firm, and it's that money and investment that we're talking about in capital budgeting. That is, you have the assets, liabilities and equity in terms of the balance sheet. No? Right? That's... So when we talk about capital budgeting, we're just talking about the decision, the cost-benefit decision that companies make in investments, any investments. Okay? Let me make it easy for you. Capital budgeting is just a cost-benefit analysis using the time value of money in most cases. Cost-benefit analysis using time value of money. That's all we're talking about. So all we're interested in is whether the benefits of any opportunity, whether the present value of the benefits is greater than the present value of the costs. Okay, that's all we're trying to do. And some of you may go to page 867 of your book to look at the... Do you know what's on page 867? Time. Yeah, I know it's a... Some of you haven't seen this book before, I know. Right, this is the book you should buy for this. No, you should buy my book, all right? It's to save you money, I understand. All right, so on page 1867, there is this is called the present value of annuity, and this is present value, time value of money tables. So that means $1 in the future is basic at 10% discount rate is what? 1 divided by 1.1, right? $1 in 2 years' time, discounted at 10%, is what? 1 divided by 1.1, what? Squared. So you all know all that. All right, the tables are in here. In the exam, we can provide you the tables. You just need to know how to read the tables fast. Okay? Don't get to the exam and think you know what the tables are, and then you spend 10 minutes in the exam trying to think, is this right? I'm not sure. Okay, just familiarise yourself with the tables. Okay, have at least 2 approaches to work out the time value of money, your calculator and the tables. Have a backup. All right, you don't want to be wasting time trying to double check your work in the exam when it comes to looking at tables. It should be automatic. You should know what you need to look for. Okay, so all we're doing is we just want to compare present value of benefits with present value of costs, and you all know that we start at time 0 and we go out in the future, so therefore the future value of cash flows, whether they are coming in or going out, are worth less than, they're worth less than today. And they're worth less than today. And how do we make that worth? What is the fraction? It's 1 over 1 plus the R over T, right? Okay, so as we go at time 1, it's 1. At time 2, the squared factor is 2. At 3, it's 3. At 4, it's 4. You got the idea, right? So you know how to do that. If you don't have a present value calculator, you don't have tables, you know how to do calculation. Okay, good. You all happy with that? So what other things you need to take away from this capital budgeting is the following. I've got my browser thing here. Forgotten where it is. I just want to remind you where we are in the whole thing. We're just down over here. Balance scorecard just before there. All right, capital budgeting. Week after next, we're looking at balance scorecard. We're going to come back to that. All right, just before I go on to other parts of capital budgeting, I just want to remind you, you all saw this, yes? This is not in your lecture notes, in your lecture notes several weeks ago, okay? And I didn't say that. All right. It's amazing how you read my mind. So we all know cost control is a challenge, competition, sales growth, HR productivity. What you didn't know, and I skipped over it very, very quickly, was how Chinese suppliers are responding to these challenges. And a lot of them are responding in terms of automation. 14, 15% are out of those that see cost control is a problem. We've got automate. Guess what? If you automate, you suddenly have a capital budgeting decision, right? Because you don't automate for the idea that the machine you buy, you spend all that time training people for, you spend all that time learning how to operate, and maybe a couple of months getting ready, all right? You don't do that for the end of the year that you'll scrap it and use it as an expense, right? You're going to automate, hopefully your machine will last you 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Or if it's maintained properly, you can run machines for 20 years, 25 years. The big issue that a lot of companies in China have is not with dated machinery, but it's with the maintenance. Machines are not well maintained, and so they break down more frequently. It's not that they're out of date. Okay, so we're talking about real capital budgeting decisions that need to be made if, for example, we are automating. Okay, and companies are doing that, so therefore this economic decision is relevant. That's why I just want to make a point with that. You know the different methods, so you know what this is. Okay, that's a tractor before it finished. That's a truck. That's at expiry date of a truck. That's at expiry date of a utility. That's at expiry date of an excavator. I think that one's expired.